All right, without further ado, we're finally going to start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our lovely panel. My name is Steph Wilberding. I'm the host of the Leading Lady Fitness podcast on the Broadway Podcast Network. So yes. We are in season 2 of our podcast, so please go and listen to season 1 and season 2. And all the conversations on the podcast are around self-care and fitness and food and journey and how it impacts the way we show up in the world, how it affects the way we show up as creatives, of what we're going to talk about today. This is something I have been talking about for almost a decade. I spent a few years at Mark Fisher Fitness here in New York City, which is like the Broadway gym. Some of you may have heard of it. And now I have my own business, but it's really important to me to talk about fitness and food as a way to make our lives better and expansive, rather than ways to make our bodies smaller and anything that needs to be fixed. So having these women with me today is just such a wonderful milestone for me, because I feel like I finally have other people to talk about this to other people. And it just feels like I'm just so grateful. So I really appreciate you guys being here. I will introduce everyone and then we're going to get started. Ooh, down here we have the lovely Tony nominated Jennifer Samard.
Hi, everybody.
And next to her is a castmate from company, the amazing Rashidra Scott. Hello. And then right here to my left, we have Christine Dercole. Okay. Isn't that, I can't throw my, yeah. From Peloton joining us today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about our personal journeys and how it's impacted our lives, our careers, our approach. And then Christine is going to lead us through one of her amazing Wordshop writing workshops. That's why you all have a notebook, okay? So what I want to do is start with, I'll go ahead and start. We're just going to tell a little bit about maybe some sort of story or thing that happened in our career that has affected the way we have approached many things. I'll just start and dive in. For me, as a actress in my 20s and early 30s, I felt like I was always trying to fix myself or make myself smaller so that I would be castable. And one very pivotal conversation was with a potential representation, an agent, who said, and I had started a weight loss journey, and this person said to me, you either need to gain it all back or lose another, 20 pounds. I forget what they said. I remember clearly going like, okay, I'll figure this out. But what I actually said in my head is like, there's no way I'm going to gain it back. Like I have to lose it. And I have held that with me for the last 15, 18 years. And what it did was just reinforce the story I had heard my entire life, dealing with weight and being told I was not enough the way I was. What that did was reinforce it. And therefore, I just went on a mission to get myself smaller, stronger, more in shape, only so I would get the job, right? And then that only started to change for me when I started seeking help for myself. I got into the fitness industry as a trainer. I'm a coach. I'm a food coach. I'm a personal trainer. But it wasn't until someone really helped me discover my own strength exactly as I am, right? That I am castable the way I am, that I don't need to be a certain size to be on stage. And that inspired the work that I do in the world now as a trainer and as a coach. So that's my thing that I wanted to share, was that at a very young, early stages of my career, I was told that I wasn't the right thing. And it's been really hard to unpack, if I'm being completely honest. So that's my bit that I wanted to share. And we're going to kind of continue that with Jennifer.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
hear
next.
From you. Yeah.
Winner,
Yeah.
chicken dinner. Hi, everyone. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon. So I will forever be a recovering anorexic. I was first diagnosed when I was 15 years old. I guess it took about a year of acute healing. But I will say it definitely informed a great deal of my life, leading to when I started doing this professionally. I sought help with a nutritionist and a therapist. And I definitely continued with therapy through my 20s, and I still go back for touch-ups, tune-ups, I call them, every now and then, just to see if I'm using the right tools, not just in regard to this, but this is the topic today. I had an experience off-Broadway in my 20s where I had a female director, which this story sort of surprised me. But I was trying on this pair of pants, I remember. It was a formative thing in this journey. And I said, how about these pants? I really like these. What do you think? And she said to me, well, they do make your ass look smaller, but I don't love them. Your ass still looks big. And I couldn't believe how cruel it was, and it really, really, really affected me. And to be honest with you, I've always felt like my legs or my butt were too big or too small, because what I have found in this industry, it's always a case of the twos. You're too big, you're too small. You're too ugly, you're too pretty. You're too young, you're too old. Too. And something finally clicked, like it did when I was a teenager, that wasn't serving me, that was someone else's problem, not mine. And I think Christine will say this more eloquently than I can, but one of the reasons I was drawn to Christine, in the sense that we all find our people in life, we all find who speaks to us as if it's coming out of our own head. To find what you're built for, that really resonated with me, Christine. And I realized that I love my body, I love my legs, and my goal is to see how strong I can get. And in my current show company, they have served me so well. These legs that enable me to do a wall sit for 90 seconds without breaking a sweat, My bike, which is my godsend and has been since I was a little girl. These legs that are built to cycle, and how much I love that. Hence my fangirling of this beautiful lady. So it's, I'm curious to see how strong I can get. And the final thing I say, because age is a part of it, and I think I'm going to do my Wordshop today based on that, sort of the fears I have as my body changes, because it will happen to you. For instance, I always had a pretty six-pack set of abs, I have to say, like tiny waist with a round thing in your face. But anyway, yes, you're welcome. So the stomach thing, it's changed. At my age, I have fibroids now, which affects a lot of women, and I'm going to need a hysterectomy, which I'll probably schedule once we close. And the doctor told me, Jen, until you get this hysterectomy, you're going to look like you're about 3 months pregnant. So to wrap this up, in company, I actually had a talk with the director about it. And I said, let me expose my belly on stage. And we worked it in. I said, I think it's really important to show your belly, because in nature, it's the most vulnerable thing an animal can do. It scared me. And now I think it's one of the most successful moments for at least my character and in that scene. And I'm very proud of it. Thank you for the snaps. Since this is a podcast, we're getting snaps, people. We're getting snaps. Anyway, so I'm very proud of that. I think it's very brave. I'm House Gryffindor, Slytherin Rising, and I'm very proud of myself. Thank you.
Would you like to go looking at me? Yes. I guess I'm next. Okay. Hi, Rashidra. I'm kind of a little bit of a jerk. I've always been very athletic and athletically built. So I never really thought I had to work on it that much. And then I got into pageants when I was 17 to help pay for college. And the first local pageant I won, my pageant director was like, yes, great. And we're shopping for my pageant wardrobe. And she's like, well, you look great. You could stand to lose about 10 or 15 pounds. Just 17 years old in high school, trying to get into college, trying to graduate, all of those things. And she's like, yeah, well, if you want to be successful, you could stand to lose about 15 pounds. I was 130, then was my weight. And it was through training for pageants that I realized it's not the number on the scale, it's how I feel. Because I continued to compete for 4 years total. And my last year of competing, I got with a trainer. I had like 6 weeks between graduating college and the state competition. And I worked almost literally my butt off. Like I had bought a pair of pants the day before graduation, and the day before the pageant, I went to wear them and they had an elastic waist and they literally fell off of me because I had no more butt to hold them up. But I realized with that trainer, I had been working so hard and I had lost all these inches and I looked the best I had ever looked. And I was 10 pounds heavier than I had been when I started with the trainer because of muscle being mass-wise more than fat. So I looked great, but I was like, oh, I can't kill myself trying to get a number on a scale. It's really about how I feel. Now, my favorite thing is in company. I remember a meeting with our costume designer, and she said, so what's your favorite part of your body? And I said, my legs. I don't know if any of y'all have seen the show. She got me in a crop top the whole show. Croppity, crop, crop, crop top. Like, it's the size of my sports bra in real life. Yes, she's tiny. But then I've realized that I have this pressure that I put on myself because I am still pretty athletically built. I know that I have this pressure of, I'm in a crop top, so I gotta suck in. Like, we have this kind of joke around the stage where there's one moment in Being Alive where I think you were probably the first one to say to me, your abs have a really great feature in the lighting during this moment. And I was like, if y'all only knew how much I'm standing there every day. I hear this one. I hear all of the strength people at Peloton just being like, shoulders back, plank. I'm basically doing a standing plank every 2 seconds, reminding myself to breathe. But even with that, I realized, and I think when Christine really spoke to me and I had that aha moment was during the shutdown. I was doing a Christine class, and you were talking about your experience in school and how many times you had been told that you're two. And I realized in that moment that I was working so hard doing like an hour and a half to 2 hours a day on the bike or strength classes because Broadway was shut down and we didn't know when we were going to come back. And I needed to keep my stamina, but also I like to snack and eat all of the things that are not beneficial and conducive to keeping a six-pack. So, like, she knows every time I order food at the theater, everyone is like, what'd you get? Is it Stickies? Is it Virgil's Barbecue? What is it? Because it's always junk food of some sort. But it's one thing to do that when we're climbing 10 flights of stairs a day and doing a 2.5-hour nonstop show or 3-hour nonstop show. It's another thing to still be eating like that and I'm not working. So I was doing all of these classes on the bike and it was in that moment that I realized I just do what makes you feel good. Work out for my health, and battling predispositions with family history and all of that stuff. So yes, I do still need to work and make sure that I'm healthy numbers-wise and all that stuff, but like blood work numbers, blood pressure numbers, sugar numbers, not the scale. I still step on a scale just because I like to see that I'm still the same weight I was in high school, but but like that's not the thing. That's just my own crazy. It's not mandatory. And so I've been grateful learning more. Samard and I worked together 11 years ago in Sister Act. And I've been grateful for company because I feel like we've gotten closer and I've learned more about you just in these last, we'll say, few months. And I've been grateful for Christine because of that moment where I was like, oh, girl, this is trauma. You are going through trauma of losing your career and not knowing what's happening. The world is going through trauma of what is happening. There is this new disease and virus that no one knows what's happening and everyone is terrified. Stop adding stress to yourself by trying to kill yourself and working out 2 to 3 hours a day to try to maintain this level. Like, just let yourself be okay with going back whenever you go back and however you go back. And that's something that I've tried to carry with me even as we have been back. Again, I do work out to combat my Stickies and my bacon cheeseburgers that I eat at 2 o'clock in the morning in bed post-show, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, it really is just being more comfortable with myself and knowing that ultimately whatever any of us are presenting on a Broadway stage is real. There is no magic marker of what we should be. All I have to be is myself, however and wherever I am on that day. Yeah. That's it.
Wow, thank you.
You did this.
I'm Christine. And I ride bikes and tell stories for a living.
Good job.
Thank you. I love it. When I was a little girl, I wanted, and I'm looking at your tutus, I wanted to be a ballerina. But they told me, you're too big to be in anything with a short tutu. So we're going to put you in the back. I'm going to put you in longer tutus because my legs were twice the size of all the other little girls. I turned to acting thinking there are roles for everyone at every age and every size. This is the way. And I auditioned for a very fancy school. You might have heard of Carnegie Mellon. Has a good drama department. And I got myself in and I thought, this is a sign. I am on the right track. And I happened upon an audition feedback form that said, loved her monologues, great comic timing, but she's a little heavy in the thigh. And I thought, how can it be that these things that I want to do, my dreams of being on a stage and telling a story to inspire people, how can it be that I am not built for my dreams? That's cruel. But I kept trying. I took a year off from college. I came to New York City and I kept auditioning. I needed a job, by the way. And I'd always enjoyed riding my bicycle. I learned the city by bicycle by going to all these auditions by bike. And so when I needed a job, bike messenger. This makes perfect sense. Had no idea the world I was getting into. And I really fell in love with flying through the city and finding this athletic side of myself that I had never imagined. And they had these nicknames for all of us. Someone was called like Ninja and someone else was called Sparks, and they called me Legs on my little walkie-talkie. And I was like, can you please not call me Legs? It's a trigger. And they said, but you're really fast. Your legs are really fast and you're really strong. In fact, maybe you should think about racing. And so I did. And I won a lot. And these legs that I was really ashamed of became something that I am really proud of. Then I had my daughter, and I became bigger than I had ever been or ever imagined I would be. And I thought, okay, you have discovered and been empowered by finding this athlete you didn't know existed, but now you really are a big girl, and you need to find a way to accept, embrace, and celebrate yourself. You're a mother, and you have to be confident to show your daughter, no matter what her body ends up with being, that she's okay. So I tried out for being a plus-size model. And I went to QVC, and I walked, and they said, we love your walk, and we love your energy, but you're not big enough. I said, mic drop. As no one has ever said that to me. They said, but if you wear these pads, we can use you for the fall and winter lines, just not the spring and summer, because the short sleeves will show your arms and they'll look too small. Another case of the tutus. So I did it. And I shoved these pads in the bust, in the back, in the belly, in the butt, in the thighs, into an oversized pair of pantyhose. And every time I had to go out onto the set for live television modeling, you had to check in the mirror before you went out to make sure that your scarf was going to flow properly and your buttons were even and your hat was tilted just right. And you walk up confidently into this mirror. And I feel like something happened in the year that I did this. Psychological gesture. Right? If you stand tall with your arms up proud, that you will eventually be proud. It was as though faking proud, looking in the mirror with confident posture in a body that was several sizes larger than my actual body at the time, strengthened the proud muscles in my spine and in my heart. And I feel like it strengthened some synapse in my head that allowed me to finally hear this quiet voice that was deep inside get louder and louder and louder. And one day I'm walking into that mirror before the set, and something in my head said, stop. I said, who's talking to me? Oh, that's you. You're talking to yourself. And I looked and I said to myself, you've been missing the point. There is no too big or too small. There is only what brings you joy and what makes you proud. And when you rode your bicycle, you were empowered. Get back on the bike and see what happens. Get curious about where that will take you. You were built for that bike. That's what those thighs were built for. And I rode myself, I quit that day, and I rode myself into now a 20-year career on my own stage, telling stories with music. And I hope that by sharing these kinds of stories, that I can inspire someone somewhere to know that you're built for something, to know that we are bigger than a smaller pair of pants, that we are spending so much time, so much space in our brains and in our lives to make ourselves smaller, to fit into somebody else's story. There is something very profound. I discovered that I spent all of that time trying to find success based on someone else's opinion of my body. But when I got on my bicycle, whether it's in a bike race or in a spin class, I am successful because of my body, exactly as it is. But not only my body, but my decisions and my actions. And so it is my hope that you take away from this, and that I have to keep reminding myself this all the time as well, that that story that we are too much of something is a story that we're listening to that we can change. All of that chatter about, I need to lose the weight, I need to gain the weight, I need to be taller, smaller, prettier, not as pretty, whatever it is, that story is a lot of other people's words in our heads that we have a choice about whether or not we listen to it. We have agency. I call it changing the chatter. And my work in Wordshop is a very simple tool for getting a grip on the runaway train that can be the chatter that we have inside of our heads, so that we can redirect our story. Knowing that you have agency is one of the most powerful things you can know. So with that, I think we should open your notebooks, and all I want you to do is write down the words I am.
For the record, I'm really excited.
I know.
Thank you. It's Jennifer Simard.
I love you.
Should we tell them the retail value of this workshop?
So, all of that chatter that we hear in our heads, often it starts with the words I am, and then it ends with something awful, like I am to whatever, I am not enough, I am doing everything I can and it's still not enough. You can fill in the blanks. I don't need to tell you what you're thinking. And if we continue to listen to all of that without changing that chatter, then we're going to let somebody else be driving our lives, basically. Speaking of driving, you've all called an Uber at some point, yes? You call an Uber because you know where you want to go. You know exactly what you want your life to look like. But that Uber cannot come get you unless you know where you are. You have to know your current location. I am at the intersection of 8th and 34th, but I am also at the intersection of Avenue of Despair and Fear streets. And behind me is Hope Alley. I want you to take 1 minute and write down everything that is true about where you are. Sentences that start with I am. Please do not edit yourself. Do not judge yourself. Go into this with curiosity and speak your truth. You have 1 minute. Ready? Unlock my phone. She's got it. Okay.
I got the clock.
And go. And scene. Now, you know where you are. You've identified a whole bunch of your mental, emotional, psychological surroundings. I'd like you to also write down the words next. I can. Now, what can you do about it? When someone asks you, can you do something? You're like, oh, well, if I had enough money, or if I wasn't afraid, or we first think of all the reasons we can't. I have this very distinct memory of being in 4th grade, and I raised my hand and I said, can I go to the bathroom? And the teacher scolded me very hard and said, oh, you must ask permission. And I thought, why do I need permission to take care of myself? And so you don't need permission to take care of yourself. You don't need permission to learn something. You don't need permission to dream, and you don't need permission to imagine what somebody else might say is impossible. You can do a handstand, maybe not right now, but you could potentially learn, right? You can skydive. You might be scared to death to do that, and you might not have a desire to do that, but you could, so you can. I want you to take a minute and write down all of the things that you can come up with that you can do about where you are in order to get where you want to go. Ready, set, go. Okay. Next is I will. What will you do about it? It might be the same thing that you can do. I did a Wordshop many years ago, and this woman, and I'm going to paraphrase, she said, I am frustrated and angry about a whole bunch of things about her job and her husband and da-da-da, all of the explanation, but I can eat my greens and ride my bike every day. I will eat my greens and ride my bike every day. And you saw this transformation come over her. I do eat my greens and ride my bike every day. Nothing happened in the minute, the seconds between each of those sentences, but you hear a profound difference in the meaning of each of those sentences. So, without putting any pressure on yourself about when you will do those things, take a minute to write down everything you imagine you will do about what you can do about where you are to get where you want to be. Don't think about pressure of a timeline, whether it's this week or this year or this month or next or 10 years from now. This is about the act of getting a thought in your head written on paper, which is a profoundly huge step in internal movement that becomes external movement later. Ready? I will. Go. Okay. I do. This is the last part of our little Wordshop here. I'd like you to take a moment and imagine that you have arrived at that destination, that place that you called the Uber for to begin with. Your life looks the way you want it to look. the success, the relationships, the security, whatever that looks like. Just take a moment and like sit in that. The things that you say to yourself and the things that you do in that version of your life are very different than the things we say and do where we are right now from where we're beginning. So, what do you do? I do speak my truth. I do ask for help. I do trust myself. You have a minute. Go ahead. Okay, 1 second. I had another thing to write. I broke my own rule. So, all of this stuff is stuff that we're hearing in our heads all the time, right? The negative and the positive. I want you to go back to everything you wrote under I am and circle one of those statements. Don't think about it. One of them is hotter. One of them has more heat than the others. Yeah, I felt that. Through the mask, I felt it. And do the same for your I can. Circle one of those sentences and grab one of your I wills and one of your I do's. And you're going to take those 4 sentences, make each of them as small as possible. For instance, if you wrote something like, I am afraid of not being enough, I am afraid is your sentence. No explanation, no backstory, no justification. If someone says, I am frustrated because of my dog and my daughter and my to know that you are frustrated is enough. It doesn't need to be justified. So make each of your sentences as few words as possible. This helps us get to the core of things. And then you'll write those on a separate page. And you will have a mantra. All right, do you have some sentences? Do you have some mantras? What you have is a toolbox, really. And in situations where you feel that overwhelming tsunami of words in your head and your heart, you can excuse yourself from any situation. Pull out your phone. Right? I am freaking out. I can breathe. I will be brave. I do my best. Whatever it is, it's a way to redirect yourself, ground yourself so that you can go back into whatever situation it is and feel your worth. Because the most powerful thing anyone can say to us is what we are saying to yourselves. And here you have agency. So you just rewrote your story. We can continue to change our lives one word at a time. That's all it takes. I'm not saying changing your chatter is going to get you the job or cure cancer. Changing our chatter will change how we navigate those challenges. That was a lot of alliteration. I should keep that. So I will share mine, and I strongly encourage y'all to share yours too. I am nervous. I can be, take the microphone out of my mouth. I can be vulnerable. I will block triggering content. I do publish the book.
My turn? Okay. I want you to know I did start crying earlier. Ever since I've met this woman, I cry at least one time in the conversation. Yeah. I am allowed I kind of feel like I could just stop with that today, close my book and go home. I am allowed. I can create. I will build. And I can lead.
I am capable. I can make mistakes. I will be scared. I do succeed.
Yeah. Ooh, that got...
Okay. I am afraid. I can confront. I will enact. I do achieve.
Nice.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Here's the thing about sharing your words, and especially the point of boiling it down and editing it down to the least words possible. I could have written what each of you wrote. Like, we all could have written. You hear yourself in everything that you heard up here. When we allow ourselves to be transparent and speak from that place of transparency and authenticity, and stop trying to look like we've got it together, we can actually deal with what's really going on. Because the more time we spend trying to look like we've got it together and we know what we're doing, the more shields and masks we're putting up. But when we are transparent and authentic and true and share that, we allow others to do the same. And then we empower each other. And then we can actually start living our real lives instead of standing beside our lives and watching what might have happened. So it is my hope today that you take this tool away and own it and use it anytime you need. And I have workshops online if you would like to participate and do it on a monthly basis.
Would anyone like to share theirs now? Yes.
Thank you.
I am proud. I can work. I will knock on doors. And I do have valid females.
Yay.
Thank you so much for being so brave.
Anyone else? I'm looking right at the tutus. You guys are so cute. You guys are so stinking cute. You can't wear that in the front row and not have me ask you to share.
This is the point.
I am capable. I can ask for what I need. I will take personal time, and I do focus on my own mental well-being.
Yes.
Good. Yes, yes, yes.
Bring it.
Can you stand up so we can see you? Yes. Hi. And that fabulous hat.
Thank you. I'm afraid. I can be disciplined. I will get stronger. I do believe that I can do this.
Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else before I say something else? Okay. What I thought, maybe I'm throwing this out there. We didn't plan this. The panel here, where could we see something like this either having would have been helpful in the past, we can say in our creative lives, or maybe how we can see it happening right now, helping us right now. I'm happy to. I'll start because I'm like, oh my God, this is mind blowing. For me, from a vulnerable place, being both a trainer and a coach and an actress, and really getting stuck in the story that I haven't acted enough yet, that my career hasn't taken off. I should have been on Broadway by now. Yeah, right? And that's been a story I probably told myself for the last 10 years. In the last couple months when we met, and I'm finally doing my own show. And it's because, so September 25th, no, but it was because I was like, I can do it on my own. What I want is to tell a story. I don't need someone to hire me to tell the story.
Right.
So that's how it's been helping me in the past couple months. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm inspired by this question.
Yep.
So what we've just done, let me make sure I understand it correctly. What we've just done, where might this be useful?
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably going to fill up this notebook because there are so many paths that I can address in regard to the well of emotion that I'm feeling, or rather the well of emotion I'm not feeling. What do I mean by that? Being on red alert for the last 9 months on Broadway has really been something. Mm-hmm. And as grateful as I am, and as much as I know anyone who's probably at this conference would love to be in my shoes, and I welcome you and I hope I get to work with you one day. The fact of the matter is, it has been something I haven't had time to process at all because we're still in survival mode. What we've been through since 2020 with this show that we're about to say goodbye to, our pandemic show that was sitting there like Pripyat, wondering if we were ever going to return, is something I haven't really come to terms with because we've had a job to do. And I'm overwhelmed with fear about how to even begin to unpack what we've just been through and what is still to come. I really don't know what to expect. So being able to write it down, I thought I knew what I'd write down, but it is very different, I've discovered, when you actually put your pen to the paper. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to continuing to maybe categorize different areas of the veritable smorgasbord of anxiety that I'm currently experiencing. So thank you for this. I appreciate it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh God, don't make me talk. I'm trying not to cry and it's your fault. Okay. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it's been hard. It's been really hard. And full transparency, the league's choice to essentially lift the mask mandate without discussing it with any other departments that let these shows happen. It's been scary. It's been a huge slap in the face. It has made me question if I actually want to stay in theater. Because to me, it was an absolute money decision that did not take into consideration the health, physically or mentally, of those of us who stand in those theaters doing the shows 8 times a week, 6 days a week, and are the reasons why people are coming to the theater and spending their money to put the money in their pockets. And they're giving us a very small portion of it. They didn't discuss it with any unions, hardly any producers. It's a theater owner decision. I'm terrified every day that I walk into work again because they lifted the vaccine and testing mandates months ago. People don't have to wear masks. I don't know who's sitting in that audience. For the last 8 months, we've been hearing people coughing and sneezing, and at least in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, they're wearing a mask, it's fine. Even I think it was 2 days ago, the first 2 opening scenes, both Act 1 and Act 2, there were people wet hacking in the audience, and we could hear it, but the lights are so bright, I can't see where it's coming from to know if it's someone who's masked or not. I don't know if that hack, I had COVID. I know that hack. I don't know if that hack is current COVID, contagious COVID. You're still getting over COVID. I have to breathe to sing. I have to breathe to dance. I have to breathe to do my job. And we spent 2 years as an industry talking about how much things were going to change and how much we were going to respect each other. And then this happens with a month left of our show. And now we're all terrified. We have 1 week between personal days, contractual things, my vacation next week. We have 1 week of our full company scheduled to be in. And now we don't even know if we're all going to make it because we can't force the audience to wear a mask. So now we're doing this, and there's just been this never-ending, repetitive conversation with myself, with my husband, with other people in my life. I've I didn't dream to be on Broadway. It keeps happening, thankfully. You said you want to be on Broadway. There was like joy. I had a college kid ask me years ago, Rashidra, what's Broadway like? And I said, fleeting and overrated. And it wasn't out of being bitter. I was like, fleeting at the time. I'm like, yes, at the time I had 2 or 3 Broadway shows on my resume. I was still sitting in a rehearsal room at Syracuse University doing the same show and same production of Rent that he was doing. Mm-hmm. The difference was he was still a student and I was the Broadway person, one of the Broadway people. Overrated because, honestly, I've had some of the most special and inspiring and impactful experiences in shows, not on Broadway, not in New York. We're all home here. Like here, we're home. We come to the theater, we go to rehearsal, we go home. Especially in a show like Company, we all grown and old and bye. No one is new. We have families, people have kids, we have husbands, we come in, we do this 3-hour show, and then we go home because we have our lives. But doing regional productions, which have been some of the most special things I have ever done, we're all there and we're all we got. We got the team and we have each other. And those bonds are so special. But because Broadway, this keeps happening foreign to me. And please, it's not been that easy of a ride. I have heard lots of no's just like everybody else. It's not that. So please don't be misled to think I'm like, oh my God, I just breathe and I book a Broadway show. No. But I initially went to school because I thought I wanted to be a recording artist. So I studied music business management. I got there and then I realized I don't want to be put in a box. I grew up in the church. I sing gospel. I sing jazz. I sing R&B. I was classically trained. I don't want to be put in a box. I want to do all of them. So here comes theater. And now I'm in theater and I have been doing everyone else's shows. And in the back of my mind for 11 years ago, I stood at the Triad and sang backgrounds for a friend of mine. And I looked at Lee Summers, who ran the Triad, and I said, I'm coming back this year at some point doing my own show. Well, that was about 2010. And I finally created my own show last summer. And it was only because Donnell and Hilton at Goodspeed. I did a production of Anything Goes up there years ago. They bought a tent last summer because they needed to have some sort of season. And Donna called me last February and said, hey, what you think about doing your own show up here at the tent at Goodspeed? And I was like, okay. I only did it because my feet were held to the fire. But I keep this recurring conversation that keeps happening with my husband, with myself, with everyone around me is, okay, so I have the one. Now what else?
Put it in the notebook.
It is in there. It's I do accept help. I am. There's so many things. I can make mistakes. I can grow. I can forgive myself for these. It's here. But like it's that same thing of we're never done. Mm-mm. We're never finished. We're never done evolving. We're never done growing. We're never done making mistakes. We're never done learning from those mistakes. And so not that I'm not looking at the last almost 15 years of my life as a mistake, but I am looking at it as, okay, I have sacrificed the work-life balance and it has only been work for 15 years for a group of people who could not make it more abundantly clear that they don't care about my person more than they care about their pockets and their bank. So what am I going to do? This is a very fresh revelation.
Right. You writing your own story.
But it's the scary thing of what is that story? So long-winded way of saying that's what I'll apply it to. Same. Okay, I'm done. You made me cry. I quit.
Yeah. Christine, do you have anything to share with what you would have applied it to or foresee?
I envision, if I had the chance to do some moments over in my life, if I'd had this then in 1989, in the 1900s, that I would have picked up that audition feedback form and said, thanks for the compliment. What do you mean I'm a little heavy in the thigh? Mm-hmm. Or the 7-year-old, the 12-year-old who was told, oh, this one's good. The dance master said, when I was 12 years old, pulled me aside when I'd started to gain a little weight in puberty. What birth control pills are you on?
Oh my God.
I remember being devastated. What does that mean? Like, I know what it meant, but what do you mean? Why are you asking me? I'm 12. And that moment being such a punctuation on, oh, something is wrong with me. To have this then, to have been able to feel empowered to say, you're wrong, and what you're doing is damaging. Mm-hmm. Don't do this to anybody else. When they lined us up and had us walk to the scale, it was like walking to a guillotine, and wrote down our weight and said, well, if you can lose 10 pounds by next week, maybe you can get the part. Or now you look like a normal person. You don't look like a dancer yet, though. To have been able to have the tools to say, all right, you know what? I'm going to find something else to do because I know I am worthy. I know I am built for something. And I can be successful and happy and joyful and have a fulfilling life regardless of your opinion. Because of my own volition, I can write my own show, I can write my own book, I can speak my own words, and I don't need anybody else's approval to do so. That's the thing.
I have so many things going on in my head right now that I wish I had time to say and write, and maybe I will write them down, but
You will.
I will. The one thing I want to just kind of add, and we'll wrap it up because we're almost at time, is in the past week or so in my personal life, and actually yesterday, Christine and I did an Instagram Live yesterday, and I was reading back on some of the comments, and this woman said, please continue this conversation. My mother is 83 years old and she's still talking about how she needs to fix her body. Mm-hmm. And it broke my heart. And I see it in my mom's generation. And I don't want that to be my life when I'm in my 70s, in my 50s, in my 60s, in my 70s. So I just think there's so much, and I know so much of my story is because the woman who raised me, or the women who raised us, the people who raised us, were doing the best with what they had, and they had been informed about their lives and their bodies, right? So I get the cycle, but I do think there's an opportunity to change the conversation. And just a fun little story. This is all happening today on July 8th because less than 2 months ago, this woman answered a DM on Instagram. Like, that is all that happened. I DM'd her and she answered. These two, you DM'd her as well about a Peloton ride, and she happened to read ours. So to say I'm grateful is an understatement. To have Rashidra and Jennifer here is just such a gift to me. With my podcast, my goal is to have a safe place for people in this community to talk about this, because we spend so much time trying to get a yes that I feel like we spend a lot of time saying no to ourselves. If there's anything else anybody wants to add, we have about a minute on the clock. I just got the minute. I feel so official. Minute left. Anyone else, any other closing remarks, and we'll let it go. We'll hang out a little bit. But thank you all. Thank you for showing up today and doing this with us. Anybody else want to say? Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I just want to express gratitude to you, Steph, for organizing this. And to you, Christine, thank you for your leadership today. It is very difficult to podcast. I know from firsthand experience, it's very difficult to lead and create and to ask for those yeses. And you're successful by merely the fact that you did it. And I really applaud you. And I look forward to seeing what's next for you. Your show's on September 25th. Is that right? Let me plug that show.
Wait, I have to interrupt because I feel like the biggest, can I say asshole on Broadway podcast? I think I can. Katie, can you stand up, please?
Don't make me
Okay, I won't make her say it. So this lovely woman right here, Katie Rosin. Katie, yes. Katie is the producer of my podcast for BPN, but she's also the producer of this event. Like everything we needed to see happen, we got press for this event. So I can't wait to see what's next for us. But thank you so much. Thank you all. Do you want to say anything else? Do you guys?
You are bigger than a smaller pair of pants.
That's right. Mic drop. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend here. We'll hang out for a second if you want to say hi. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Leading Lady Fitness Podcast. Thank you for following, subscribing, liking, reviewing, all the things to help get these wonderful conversations in more ears. Have a great day and be well. Thanks for joining us today. Check out other episodes on all streaming platforms, including the Broadway Podcast Network app. Be well and see you next time.